But I do want to talk about the bow, because you mentioned the bow a couple of times, where modern bows, the modern design by Tort is definitely what you're using, probably is something, a design before that time period, right? So can you give a crash course for someone who's listening and is not, and can you help them visualize what a Baroque bow looks like and how you use it compared to steel strings in opposed to gut strings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, if we're looking at the Baroque era, which is a long time period, things varied very much from country to country and city to city, because there wasn't any way to codify things the way there is now. That communication was more difficult, travel was more difficult. And so when we talk about Baroque playing and historical performance practice, we actually accidentally make a lot of generalizations that aren't necessarily true. So when I say a Baroque bow, that's a huge generalization, because depending whether you're in Leipzig or Paris or, Florence, it's like the bows are going to be different. And if you go into any music instrument collection at a museum and look at the different bows from that time period, you can see like the huge difference in all of them and how there's just tons of different styles. But basically, the one thing that kind of remains true is that the Baroque bow has a very different shape from the modern. Like where the modern kind of caves in the middle, the Baroque bow actually goes outwards. So it's more of like a spring. And at the tip, it's tapered a lot more. It's a longer tip and it's tapered out. It has like a kind of like a swell downwards, whereas the modern bow has like that square shape. And with that taper, that's what makes it so that the Baroque bow cannot actually sustain. I think it probably can if you really, really muscle it, but it would be very difficult to do and extremely awkward. If you're even just playing strokes back and forth in the middle of the bow and you keep your bow on the string, with the Baroque bow, it's going to sound like you're coming off the string because there is like a little stop before each down and up bow, which is great when you're playing fast passage work, like in a Bach partita or something. You get that kind of crisp, like sautille effect without having to actually come off the string, like with a modern bow. So it can be very elegant and light and kind of dancey. But yeah, it really depends on the time period. I have a whole collection of bows and I want so many more. Like I'm just addicted to bows because I want to have each one for each composer. Like I have a short Italian bow, which basically looks like a hunk of like driftwood that washed up on the beach. It's like this very primitive looking thick stick. It's probably the thickest stick you'll ever see for a violin. And it's very, very short. And that I use for Bieber. And you basically can't really do much with it. And the way you hold it is the way we learn. Like if you ever did Suzuki method and you put your thumb under the frog of the bow, that's actually how you hold this early Baroque bow. So there's no way to do any kind of like subtleties or coming off the string. It's just like you put the bow on the string and you play. And that's my early Bieber bow. My Baroque bow is longer and more elegant. And I have a transitional bow for classical music. And well, it's too early really for romantic music. So it sort of depends. I'm looking for a bow now to play things like Brahms with and Beethoven. Yeah, so it's a huge topic, bows.